Or after nearly waiting, well, heck, almost 2 full hours to get underway, we are playing baseball tonight. A lot of the youngsters now out of school. Why not hang out with mom and dad late tonight? The big story, of course, tonight, Chris, and you've been following this story, you and Jim Day, pretty much morning, noon, and night. Tonight marks the return of Joey Votto off the disabled list.
Well, there's a reason that there was a gleam in the eye of the manager, Brian Price, when he was around batting practice and watching Joey Votto hit with the regular group that he normally hits with. And, you know, it's finally getting your whole ball club back. It's not necessarily only Joey Votto. It's getting everybody into the flow, trying to find the best lineup that works with all the healthy players. And you look what the Reds have did offensively with Joey Votto and then without Joey Votto.
We caught up with Votto before the game earlier this afternoon, and he's excited, needless to say, to be back on the field with a big league club.
I hold myself to a high standard, and I wouldn't come back unless I felt like I could play to that high standard. And you know, so you know, I'm not really concerned about you know, what percentage people think that I'm at. I'm gonna come back and play well.
Well, Jim Day is standing by, Senior Vice President of Business Operations. Karen Forgas may be bringing Jim Day up to date on the very, very latest. But, Jim, anything more to add to the Joey Votto story? You have really been on this nonstop.
Well, it's interesting, Tom, to talk to Joey today because he's coming back with a different outlook. He went down to Louisville for 2 games, and he said it was very refreshing and surprisingly refreshing how much fun those guys have down there at the AAA level. And he said, I want to make the game of baseball fun again. And let's face it, this is a guy that has gone through some things mentally on and off the field. And sometimes he just doesn't look like he's having fun. He says he's going to come back to the old Joey Votto. And it said that it shook him up. It shook it up for him, is the quote that he had, that it shook it up. That I saw those guys having fun down there. I want to make baseball fun again. So we're going to see if we're going to see a different Joey Votto as far as that goes. And I expect him to say exactly what he said also. He said, you know what, I'm just going to come back and I'm going to rake.
You know what, Jimmy, you have been, in all seriousness, and I know you don't need a pat on the back from me, but you have done a marvelous job following this entire story. Votto, along with Matt Latos, and bringing us the very latest of not only everything that was going on with them in the minor leagues, but right up to the first pitch in the game tonight. That is very, very interesting from Joey Votto. Baseball to be fun again.
Well, I'll tell you one thing from my experience as a baseball player, Tom, and being up here in the booth, it is fun when you win, and fun for everybody in that dugout.
Well, Votto's going to take the field with his teammates. And we're just about set to play baseball here tonight at Great American Ballpark. All right, let's take a look at Don Mattingly's starting lineup for the Los Angeles Dodgers. They're 3 games over 500. It's brought to you by Meyer. D. Gordon back in the lineup after injuring his hip over the weekend. Hanley Ramirez at short and Yasiel Puig again in right. Adrian Gonzalez over at first base. Matt Kemp in left. Andre Ethier in center. For the latter third of Justin Turner, Drew Butera the catcher, and Josh Beckett having a good year for the Dodgers on the mound. Having a good year on the mound for the Reds is right-hander Mike Leake.
No, you're not kidding about that. It's 12 starts for Mike Leake. Look at the earned run average. That win-loss record, very misleading. The Reds simply don't get him very much in the way of run support. He got nicked up a little bit the last time out. That was against the Giants, but against this other National League West team. And, of course, he's from San Diego, just right down the road from Los Angeles. So you wonder if there's a little extra motivation here for Mike Leake tonight.
Take a look at the Reds defensively behind Mike Leake tonight, presented by your Ford dealers. And as we brought up a couple of hours ago when we initially came on the air, you're getting a look at what the Reds envisioned they might look like before this season began. A healthy Devin Mesoraco playing with a healthy Votto, playing with a healthy Bruce. Schumacher to start tonight in left field. And we are set to go. 2 hours and 5 minutes, a rain delay. But we're playing baseball.
Well, they've never had this lineup yet. I mean, even when the Reds came very close to having this lineup together, that was in Atlanta when Devin Mesoraco blew out his hamstring, rounding third and heading for home on a base hit. Still at that time, I don't believe that Schumacher was off the disabled list. He didn't come off the list until the Reds went to Boston. So finally, the troops are healthy. They're on the field together, and we'll see if they can't get something going.
So here we go. D. Gordon to lead it off. First pitch swinging, and look who gets the baseball. And he feeds a pitcher in a foot race to the bag. So Votto to Leake, and Gordon retired on the first pitch of the night. This one underway.
That's a good thing that Mike Leake is a pretty good athlete right there, because he had to really bust it down the line to beat D. Gordon. We've said many times that, you know, when that first baseman fields a ball, if he can possibly get to the bag, that's the way you do it, so you don't have to transfer the ball too much. But one up, one out on one pitch.
So now Hanley Ramirez will dig in. A .257 batter. He has 10 home runs and 36 runs batted in. We can tell you about a lot of games that are well into early start times from a little after 7 o'clock Eastern time, and the one certainly of note where the Mets in the 7th inning have a 6-1 lead over the Central Division leading Milwaukee Brewers. Cardinals a 1-0 advantage in the 8th inning down in Tampa Bay, and the Cubbies leading the Pirates 5-3. That game in the 7th inning in Pittsburgh. 0-1 on Hanley Ramirez. Now Mike Leake did not face his Dodger team when the Reds were out there a couple of weeks ago, and LA won 2 out of 3. After getting kicked around by the Dodgers the first time in his career going back to 2010, they touched him up for 10 runs in 13 innings. But that was then. And his last 2 starts against him, 7 innings, 2 earned runs, 7 2/3 innings, 2 earned runs.
Well, Mike Leake is throwing the ball right now about as well as he's thrown it over a consistent amount of time in his major league career. He's got his running fastball moving very well. He's got his cutter going away from right-handers. Really working both sides of the plate.
1-2 on Hanley Ramirez, and that's a little bit low. Jim Reynolds, the crew chief, he'll work behind the plate tonight. Brian Knight at third, Manny Gonzalez at second base, and Seth Buckminster, the umpire, at first. Game 2 of a 4-game series. Dodgers won the opener here last night by a final count of 6-2. Way outside to Hanley Ramirez, and a full count. Roller to the second baseman, and Phillips will throw out Hanley Ramirez, and the first 2 retired by Mike Leake here in the top of the first inning. That'll bring Yasiel Puig to the plate.
I don't know if there's anything to it, but I'm watching the radar gun at the same time I'm watching Mike Leake, and he's throwing his fastball at 94, which is really at the top end of what we have ever seen him throw. So feeling kind of strong tonight. Sometimes that can work against the pitcher if you think you're too strong and you don't get the movement, but he's got a lot of run on that 2-seamer.
Oh, and 1 to Yasiel Puig. Last night, Yasiel Puig played in his 162nd major league game. So that's a full year. His first season, if you will, in the major leagues. And how about the numbers? A .324 batting average. Scored 100 runs. 37 doubles. 30 home runs. 82 runs batted in. An on-base percentage of up over 400. And a slugging percentage of .552. For a guy who's never seen, not in the minor league level, he's not seen any of these pitchers. since he set foot this time a year ago in the big leagues with the Dodgers.
Well, for Yasiel Puig, I mean, he is the epitome of breaking it all down to basic talent. I mean, see the ball, hit the ball. Probably doesn't want to be overloaded with scouting reports. Doesn't really want to care what this guy's third out pitch is on a 2-1 count or a 1-2 count. I mean, he goes up there, sees it, and he lets it rip. That's how good of an athlete and good hand-eye coordination that he has.
And that's strike 3 to Puig. So a good start for Mike Leake. Reds are coming to bat. Joey Votto due up third in the Reds' first inning. Retired the Dodgers in order in the top half. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup, presented by Meyer. Hamilton, Frazier, Votto, Phillips, Bruce, Mesoraco, Schumacher, Cozart, Mike Leake. Pretty good looking lineup. Hard to believe it. Josh Beckett is only 34 years old. It seems like he has been around forever.
Well, he came up to the major leagues as a very young man. He was a former #1 draft pick by the Florida Marlins back in 1999. The second player taken in that entire draft that year. The only player taken ahead of Josh Beckett was another Josh Hamilton. Now 34 years old, 135 wins, 103 losses. And he's having a pretty good year for a 34-year-old.
Of course, he's thrown a no-hitter already this year. That came against the Philadelphia Phillies. We just got to look at that Phillies team. That was back on May the 25th. 9 innings, no hits, struck out 6, walked 3, threw 128 pitches in that game. Now, the next start, he only lasted 5 innings. Gave up 2 earned runs against the Pirates. Got a loss there. But they didn't score a run for him. Then his last start, 6 innings, 2 runs, lost to the White Sox. They didn't score a run for him then. One and 2 to Billy Hamilton. And that one swung on and fouled out of play. Of course, Beckett has been at his very, very best when he's been given the chance to get the ball in postseason play. He's won 2 World Series rings, one with the Marlins in 03, with the Red Sox in 07. 2003, he was the World Series most valuable player. And in 07, the League Championship Series MVP. This guy in the playoffs has thrown 3 complete game shutouts. That is stepping up and delivering the goods. Right to Justin Turner, and Hamilton retired to begin the Reds' first inning.
You know, even though he makes it out right there, you love the way Hamilton, at least I do, loves the way he stays inside the ball, doesn't overswing, trying to get that ball in play and on the ground, and that's a good out by Billy Hamilton.
Now Todd Frazier. Breaking ball off the inside corner from Beckett. Of course, Beckett had a tumultuous finish to his career in Boston. Things were going so good for quite a while, and then when the Red Sox had that disastrous season a couple of years ago, and they brought in Bobby Valentine, and seemed to be chaos in the clubhouse. There's a fly ball in the center field, and that'll be the second out of the inning. Let's take a look at the Dodgers behind Beckett on defense. Kemp, Ethier, and Puig in the outfield. Turner, Ramirez, Gordon, Gonzalez, Butera the catcher, and here's Joey Votto. So Votto back for the first time since the middle of May. Played the last 2 games for the Louisville Bats. And that one ripped foul on the first pitch. A rocket up the first base line. Votto, a .257 batter, 6 home runs, has 12 runs batted in. He has 8 doubles. Of course, Votto won't talk about it. You can only speculate how long that quad muscle bothered him before he finally stayed in Cincinnati following that doubleheader against San Diego on May the 15th. The Reds held out hope that he was going to be all right. Diagnosed as a quadriceps strain above his left knee, and they wound up having to put him on the disabled list after he missed 5 games. Reds 11 wins and 12 losses in Votto's absence. 2-2. You know, you look at things like on base percentage and batting average, there was a slight difference. The Reds not as good without Votto as they were with him, but as far as runs per game, as he looks at strike 3, and that will end the inning, there really wasn't much of a difference. Right around a half run per game. out of Maryland. Ohio State football, 2 verbal commitments for 2015 from top players attending their summer camp. And the Bengals have brought back tight end Alex Smith. All that and more at foxsportsohio.com, brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. That was nice of Kevin Goheen to come by with Jim Day before the ball game tonight. I guess pinch hitting, if you will, as Jim said, for the regular when we have a rain delay. The Hall of Famer Hal McCoy, although we understand that he is not here tonight. And Jim Day, I think you said there was some sort of ceremony going on. I don't know if you ever got any clarification or update on that, but when we find out, we will let you know. I'm sure just another honor bestowed upon Hal McCoy. 0-2 on Adrian Gonzalez. And Hal, if you're watching a ball game, if you're back from the event by now, let us know. What's a big occasion? Gonzalez has really cooled off since the last time we saw him. That batting average has slipped all the way down into the 240s. He does have 12 home runs and 38 runs batted in. In fact, so far in the month of June, and we're 10 days into it, he did not play in the game last night. He has 1 hit in his last 26 at-bats. Reds will try and keep him quiet over the next 3 days, that's for sure. 2-2.
Well, you know, as good as he is, though, Tom, when you see a number like that and he is that cold, that means he's just closer to getting hot, because he doesn't go all that long without starting to put the barrel of the bat on the ball. He's just that good of a hitter. Mike Week's gotten ahead of him. Now he's run that count to 3-2. Missed inside and missed down and away. This guy's got power to all fields. I say that I can't say he's ready to get hot, but unless there's an injury, that's the one caveat that you may not know about. He might be something battling him that he's just battling through, trying to stay in the lineup. He was not in the lineup last night. There must be a reason why.
Well, that ball is smoked in a gap in right center field, and this will be a double by Gonzalez to lead off the Dodgers' second inning.
That's a changeup right there that Mike Leake needed to throw a strike with. And sometimes when you have to throw a strike with a changeup and you get a hitter like Gonzalez who's got that good of plate coverage, that's a tough pitch to throw. I think he's signaling into the Dodger dugout as to what he hit there. And he looks like he either gave like a knuckleball or a changeup sign right there, because they're all looking in there just figuring out what it was.
Now Matt Kemp, 254 batter, 5 home runs and 18 runs batted in. Strike one. Jim Day, you have some more information on Hal McCoy.
He is back in the man cave, but he's freshly back from North Carolina. He accepted his 14th Sports Writer of the Year award. 14 of them. So Hal McCoy, congratulations. Enjoy the game.
That is a big event in Salisbury, North Carolina.
What an honor. Good for you, Hal.
Swing and a miss, 0-2. That is quite an extraordinary 2 or 3 day event down there in Salisbury, North Carolina. They honor a writer of the year and a broadcaster of the year in every state. And then they honor a national writer of the year, a national broadcaster of the year. And generally, they'll induct someone into their permanent Hall of Fame. 0-2 on Matt Kemp. Got him swinging.
I pretty much blew him away with fastballs right there. That one last pitch is going right up in the strike zone and challenging Kemp.
That'll bring up the center fielder Andre Ethier. 251 batter, 3 home runs, and 25 runs batted in. And that one down the left field line. That is a fair ball into the corner. And that will produce the game's first run. Leadoff double by Gonzalez. He scores on a double by Andre Ethier.
Always a good hitter, Ethier is, and he's always a guy that is willing to use the entire field. Not necessarily bent on hitting home runs or trying to knock the wall down. The guy keeps his hands inside the ball, just gets the barrel of the bat on it and drives a run in. Right now, he's the everyday center fielder when he's healthy enough to play.
Ethier this year only has 12 at bats against the Reds. And he has 5 runs batted in. Hey, remember when the Reds were out there, Ethier had the monster game in the second game of that series, where he hit a solo home run and had a bases clearing 3-run triple. That was in the Dodger win against Alfredo Simon. And now an RBI double, his first at bat in this series. Nothing in 2 on the one-time Red Justin Turner. Turner selected by the Reds in the 7th round in the 2006 first-year player draft. Played in the Red system for 3 years until he was traded to Baltimore, along with Ryan Friel in the Ramon Hernandez trade of 2008.
It turned out to be a good trade for the Reds. Ramon Hernandez, their just about everyday backstop for a long time. Came up with some big hits. He did a lot to keep that pitching staff together.
You know, 2 of those guys the Reds brought in for that magical run during 2010 when they finally won the division and went to the playoffs. There's a tapper to Frazier. He'll throw out Turner. On to third is Ethier. Well, 2 of the guys that maybe, you know, some people might forget that were very, very integral in the Reds winning the division that year. Hernandez, and the shortstop that year, Orlando Cabrera.
Both of those guys, even though they came to the team new, they were both outgoing and really helped galvanize that ball club together.
Both really good guys. So a runner at third, 2 out. And the catcher is Drew Butera. Fly ball to left field. That'll back up Schumacher. And the Dodgers are through in the second. But they get a run and lead 1-0. bringing the energy. Josh Beckett, the no-hitter, as we mentioned, on May the 25th in Philadelphia. Take a look at the most starts by pitchers all time before throwing their first career no-hitter. How about some of the names on that list? El Presidente, Dennis Martinez, Hall of Famer Tom Seaver, Dave Steve, an outstanding pitcher, as was David Cone, and then Josh Beckett. Reds are down a run. They'll send up Brandon Phillips, Jay Bruce, and Devin Mesoraco against Beckett here in the bottom of the second inning. Brandon at .273, 4 home runs and 22 runs batted in. I have told the story many, many times, but the one thing I will forever remember about Josh Beckett, and I remember as though it happened yesterday, during that incredible 2003 National League Championship Series, the Cubs led 3-1 over the Marlins, and Game 5 was in Miami. Beckett throws a complete game, sending the series back to Chicago, and leading to that fateful Game 6 night where the Marlins scored 8 runs in the 8th inning in the Steve Bartman situation, and on and on and on. So remember now, Beckett had pitched Game 5 2 days before. The Marlins were starting their number 5 starter in the rotation in Game 7. And the Cubs were countering with Kerry Wood. There's a ground ball to short. And Ramirez will throw out Phillips to begin the inning. After the game, Game 6 that night, I ran into Josh Beckett coming back to the hotel. And the manager, Jack McKeon, had commented before Game 6 that if we get to Game 7, I will use Josh Beckett out of the bullpen. I ran into Beckett, and that was a late night game that night after Game 6. And I asked him in the hotel, I said, you know, what do you think about tomorrow? You feel like you're good to go? He said, I can pretty much give you an idea of what's going to happen tomorrow. High scoring on both sides early. I'll come in the game about the 5th. I'll go the last 4 innings. Might give up a run, more than likely not. And we're on to the World Series where we're going to win the whole thing. That is exactly what happened the next night. Their starter knocked out early. Beckett came in. Gave him a little better than 3 innings out of the bullpen. He allowed 1 hit. The Marlins won the game, and Beckett wound up World Series most valuable player in a shocking series to defeat the New York Yankees.
And all of that out of a 23-year-old.
Yep. Bruce went around, strike 3, and that's the second of the game by Josh Beckett.
Now there was a time, and it was back in those days, that Josh Beckett would regularly dial up his fastball 96 miles an hour and better. He's no longer at that, but what he does have is excellent control and command of that fastball. That and the fact that he's got one of the best curveballs in the league. You know, use it at any time.
2 down for Devin Mesoraco.
But if you're batting against Beckett, I mean, you got 5 different pitches to think about. He throws 2 different fastballs, 4-seamer and 2-seamer, a cutter, a curveball, and a changeup. A lot like last night's starter for the Dodgers, Danny Herron. He controls all of them. In fact, he's kind of like facing Danny Herron, except his stuff is just a click or 2 better. He's got a better fastball and a better overall curveball than Herron does, but 2 veterans there at the, if you want to call it, the bottom of their rotation. Could have a really solid top 5.
Beckett began the year on the disabled list, so tonight is his 12th start of the season. He missed one turn through the rotation before he came back. 1-2 on Mesoraco. Struck him out swinging. 6 up, 6 down for Beckett. We play 2. Dodgers lead 1-0.
Fox Sports, Ohio. I'm Jim Day by the Reds dugout, and this is a special anniversary in Reds history. 70 years ago today, June 10th, 1944, Joe Nuxhall made his major league debut at the age of 15. For many different reasons, you can write that record book. You can write it in stone. It'll never be broken. Our T-Mobile Game Changer features Joe Nuxhall. Not only known for pitching, making his debut at the age of 15, but what a lengthy career he had with the Reds. In fact, you look at the numbers and they are very, very impressive. 15 seasons. That's first for any Reds pitcher. 484 games, 130 wins. He's 6th all-time Reds innings pitched. 1,289 strikeouts. That's 3rd best in Reds history. But he's most well known, of course, 40 years in the broadcast booth at baseball circles. You didn't have to use last names. All you had to say is Marty and Joe. Everyone knew what they were talking about. Lefty, we miss you.
There's no doubt about that. And I don't think it's a stretch at all. Some outside these parts may say you got to be kidding, but for anybody who has lived in this town for any length of time, especially when Joe Nuxhall was here, I don't even think you would have to make a very strong argument that he might be the most beloved Cincinnatian that has ever lived.
Well, there was such a push for so long to try to get Joe into the Hall of Fame. And really, you know, he would have loved to have been there. He didn't make it a priority in his life. He never politicked about it. In fact, he was probably the most humble guy you would ever meet. But it certainly would be nice to have the old left-hander up there in Cooperstown.
What a great man he was. And of course, his bride Donzetta still lives here in the area, very active, along with his son Kim and his wife Bonnie, and all the great work they continue to do, getting stronger and stronger, better and better every year. The Joe Nuxhall Foundation, all to better the lives of children who are less fortunate. 0-1 on D. Gordon as we're underway here in the top of the 3rd inning. Dodgers with a 1-0 lead. And a breaking ball to get ahead 0-2. Gordon bounced out to Joey Votto, his first time up. Milwaukee bats in the 9th inning, trailing 6-2 to the Mets. Reds beginning play 8 back, and that matches a season high for games behind the leader inside the National League Central Division. And of course, they're on their way to Milwaukee. First trip in there this season. That series will begin on Friday night. We'll have it for you right here on Fox Sports Ohio. That ball may have hit D. Gordon in the face. Looked like it did.
Well, knocked his cap off at the very least. Ball looked like it hit right on home plate and came right back up and got him.
That's Stan Conti, the head trainer for the Dodgers. That's a guy who was a head trainer for the Giants for a long time. And a fly ball into short right center. Billy calling off Jay Bruce. 2 up, 2 down, and the Dodger third. LA scored if you're just joining us. And if you're just joining us, we waited better than 2 hours to get underway tonight after a rain delay. So we're just in the 3rd inning. Dodgers scored in the 2nd on doubles by Adrian Gonzalez and Andre Ethier. Here's Hanley Ramirez with 2 down and nobody on. Ramirez a lengthy at bat, but wound up grounding out to Brandon Phillips in the 1st inning, and he's ahead this time at 3 balls and no strikes. You know, we've talked so much the last couple of days, what with all the great work by both Jim Day and Chris Welsh keeping you up to speed on Matt Latos and Joey Votto. And Chris, I know you had a chance to catch up with Latos. Jim's already reported a great deal about his conversation with Joey Votto. That one knocked down by Frazier. And when we come back, I'd like to hear some of your thoughts in your conversation, an in-depth conversation with Matt Latos. June the 20th through the 22nd at Great American Ballpark. They'll take on the Toronto Blue Jays. Of course, Friday night we'll have the big fireworks show presented by the Jeff Weiler Automotive family. You can call 381-REDS, visit select Kroger locations, or log on to Reds.com/tickets. 6 up, 6 down for Dodger right-hander Josh Beckett. He has a 1-0 lead. Skip Schumacher, Zach Cozart, Mike Leake, 2 up here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Schumacher, a .220 batter with a home run and 7 runs batted in. He started games at all 3 outfield positions, also started second base. And that ball in the air to left center field will back up Ethier to the track. 1 out. You know, it's interesting what with some of the comments made by Don Mattingly, the Dodger manager, and we'll give you some of those comments here in a moment. You know, but basically talking about his team, not everybody pulling on the same end of the rope, what with all this talent, spending all the money, and it just doesn't seem to be coming together the way you want it to as a manager and as a leader of a team. And it was interesting because as you take a look at a quote from Don Mattingly, he said, you know, I think it's one thing we're missing, a collective group fighting and pulling in one direction, trying to win a game without any concept of this guy or that guy or this guy. He even made reference to the longtime great Hall of Fame Dodger manager Tommy Lasorda. But you know, it's interesting when the Dodgers lost guys off of their team that aren't the big money frontline stars, guys like Schumacher, guys like Ellis now with the Cardinals, even guys like Nick Punto, backup guys. A lot of people rolled their eyes when it was talked about with Don Mattingly or written about before the year began, that, you know, what kind of group would they have with all 3 of those guys gone? As Cozart is a fly ball into center field, it'll be out number 2. And clearly, Chris said, even with this assemblage of stars they have on this team, you get the feeling that they do miss backup role players, but guys that know what it takes to get everybody in one direction.
Yeah, you're right. And it's those guys that get everybody in one direction. Well put there, Tom, because that's what guys like Schumacher do. They're grinders. They're there because they've out-hustled the other guy. The guys that are signing these 10-year contracts, they're all the very talented superstars. But you got to have some grunt players, too. And they're very important to get the right mix on your ball club. You know, the thing that they're concerned most about in L.A. is the chemistry in that clubhouse. On paper, they're as good a team as you've seen in many, many years.
Well, after retiring the first 8 batters of the game, it is a pitcher, Leake, who bangs one into center field, a 2-out single.
Drop the head on a nice low fastball. So that's the hard thing when you're putting a team together. How many years did we see the Yankees? I'm not talking about the last 5 or 6 years, but way previous to that. Back in the days of George Steinbrenner, where they would outspend everybody trying to buy a pennant, and it just didn't always work out that easy. That you could do that. It's not like trading baseball cards and, you know, getting the best team on paper. But the Dodgers seem to try to do that, and they expect, because they spent so much money and so many superstars and there's so many all-stars on this ball club, that they expect Don Mattingly to throw out a lineup and then to automatically get to the World Series. You got to have guys like you say, Punto and Schumacher. They're hoping Justin Turner's that kind of player this year, although he's really stepped up to be an everyday third baseman.
Because they're still without the guy who was penciled in as a regular third baseman, Juan Uribe. Been on the DL a couple of times already, along with their catcher, A.J. Ellis. Ellis was on the disabled list, came back off the DL, and less than a handful of days later when Beckett threw the no-hitter. Ellis was behind the plate and was injured in the celebration of the no-hitter on the field. And so he's been out ever since. Utera out and makes a nice play to end the inning. It hit a man left. We play 3 where the Dodgers have a 1-0 lead. Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. By Toyota, for over 30 Toyota offers. Visit buyatoyota.com. By B-Dub, spend $30 on a gift card for dads and grands. They'll give you a $5 bonus. Buffalo Wild Wings, Wings Beer Sports. And by T-Mobile, Tuesday Night Baseball. Right along the banks, just across the street from Joe Nuxall Way from Great American Ballpark. And a lot of the fans sticking around here tonight. Game scheduled to get underway at 7:10. Didn't get underway until around 9:15. And here we are at the end of 3. 1 run, 2 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 1 hit for the Reds. Yasiel Puig struck out looking, ending the first inning. You'll be followed by Adrian Gonzalez and Matt Kemp. And that's a bouncer over Todd Frazier's head down the left field line. I don't know, a little surprising that with a guy like Puig, now we don't see him play every day, but there aren't a lot of number 3 hitters that are putting down bunts, and Frazier is in on the infield grass a couple of steps. That's a routine ground ball to third.
Yeah, I think he's right in there even with the bag, and evidently in the scouting report, I mean, Frazier's not doing that on his own.
No.
So he's being told where to play. I mean, you're checking the dugout all the time, and the guys in the dugout have a scouting report, and they're basing that on whatever hundreds of bats they've already seen Puig have, and maybe what he did while the Reds advanced scout was looking at him. So, yeah, that's putting it where they ain't. Not a whole lot you can do about it.
Well, I do know one thing. I don't know if he's trying to bunt for a hit, but Puig in 2 short years of professional baseball has never even had a sacrifice. Of course, this year he's batting third regularly for the first time. You may remember frequently last year they had him down in the order when they first came up, then they hit him in a 2-hole for quite some time. Adrian Gonzalez doubled into right center field and scored the only run of the game. That came in the LA second inning. 2 balls and a strike on Adrian Gonzalez. Ball hammered. Foul right behind the plate. 2-2. And Gonzalez gone on strikes.
Oh, you don't often make Adrian Gonzalez look this bad on a fastball. I mean, he's just trying to swap that ball. League trying to keep it away from him because he didn't want him to advance the runner, and that is our flamethrower strikeout of the night, brought to you by Cholula Hot Sauce. But what great action he has on that fastball, and tonight he's dialing it up as fast as he's thrown it as I can ever remember. I hardly ever remember Mike Leake hitting 94. He's working 93, 94 right on the radar gun right now.
Well, he struck out Matt Kemp his first time up. Leake has 4 strikeouts. He's allowed 3 hits, all of them doubles so far tonight. Gonzalez and Ethier to produce a run in the second. And Puig, the bouncing ball into left field for a 2-base hit to open up this 4th inning. 1 on, 1 out. Dice K Matsuzaka goes to 3-0 on the year for the New York Mets. And he beats the Milwaukee Brewers tonight by a final count of 6-2. Adam Wainwright shuts out Tampa Bay 1-0. We talk about a team that is in a straight free fall. The worst record in all of baseball belongs to the Tampa Bay Rays. They are now 24-42, and they have not scored in their last 28 innings. One and 2 to Matt Kemp.
Well, they're in such a free fall down in Tampa with that Tampa Bay Ray team that they have contracted out to the Seminole Indians to bring in a medicine man to help shake their losing ways. 12 of the last 13. They're 24-40 overall. And they have brought in Bobby the Rainmaker. He's a Seminole medicine man. The manager, Joe Madden, believes will drive out the bad spirits that are right now occupying their home field in Tropicana.
Didn't they do that a couple of days ago? Because they go to 24-42 with their loss tonight.
Well, I see today they may have. I mean, I'm just reading an article that came out today.
Well, maybe it takes a day or two for that to kick in.
Well, maybe. I mean, he took a stroll around the field and he said, well, that field, not so bad. I walked around, and I don't think it's real bad, you know. We just have to open, just key opening, and let them, the bad spirits, out. Of course, it's a dome, covered dome. I'm not sure what they're going to open.
That's right. But Jim Day, you have something else I understand to add to the story?
Yeah, Joe Madden was quoted as saying that it would be impressive if he would stop their losing ways, but he'd be really impressed if he got it to rain inside that dome. Not sure that's happened.
Well,
you know what? It's worth a try.
Well, here we are talking about it.
That's exactly right. It's worth a shot. Why not? They've been spoiled down there in Tampa Bay. They have won a lot of games. For the last 5 years, they've won 90 or more games. Doesn't look like they're trending in that direction this year, though, unless they get it turned around right quick, thanks to the medicine man. Weak dancing around. He was running on the last 2-2 pitch. Not this time. And that is strike 3 called to Kemp, who can't believe it.
I'm not so sure that Kemp really had that good of a look at it. Watch him back out as this pitch is coming in there. I mean, he thinks that pitch is going to hit him, and I'm not so sure how you can keep your head still, see where the pitch is when you're moving that much. Probably thinks it's low. He's looking at the dugout for some moral support.
Read his lips. That pitch is way low.
Yeah.
Well, Jeff Pico going to come out and have a quick visit with Leake. You have Andre Ethier, who knocked in a run with a double, the only run of the game in the second inning. You have a base open. You have a right-handed batter in Justin Turner, who arguably Turner is the hottest hitter in the Dodger lineup right now.
He may be the hottest hitter in the Dodger lineup, but the numbers that you read about Andre Ethier and against the Reds, and those 12 at-bats and driving in 5 runs, that's the reason why they have that meeting out there. At least let them know how they should go about pitching him, and if you get behind him, maybe you don't want to. There are his numbers versus Mike Leake.
You got my attention. I wasn't looking over there. You asked for my attention.
Now Jimmy Reynolds is hearing a lot from the Dodger dugout, and he's going to walk halfway over there and see if anybody wants to have a private conversation with him.
All right, runner at second, 2 men out. And Ethier the batter. First pitch swinging, fly ball into left field will back up Schumacher. He has room, inning over. A leadoff double, and Puig never moves. Dodgers still lead 1-0. Catch some baseball action and lunch for only $15. Take advantage of the Paycor Business Day special and purchase a Reds ticket. You get $10 in concession credits. And by the way, that's good for food, beverage, merchandise, you name it. So now Todd Frazier, followed by Joey Votto. Reds only have one hit, and that was from the pitcher Mike Leake. Through the front 3 innings against Josh Beckett. Well, Beckett feels like he's hit the lottery tonight. This is the first time they have scored any runs while he's been in the game. Over his last 2 starts, this being the 3rd. Oh, and 2 the count on Frazier. And a liner into right center field, and it'll fall in a base hit. Tried to sneak a fastball on him after fooling him with off-speed stuff, and Frazier was ready to hit. Well, tonight's game, once again this year, we are participating in the Home Run Challenge. Every home run hit in this game raises $602. For prostate cancer research, you can make a pledge by going online to homerunchallenge.org. Joey Votto looked at strike 3 his first time up. First game back since mid-May. Votto had 2 games with AAA Louisville, playing in Pawtucket. Had 2 hits and 6 at-bats.
Now that's the same pitch that Beckett struck out Joey Votto on the first time up. A perfectly placed 2-seam fastball. You see Mike Leake throw it a lot. Right-handers that can throw that pitch really open up the strike zone. The thing about Beckett, though, he doesn't give you the same pitch twice in a row. I was really surprised to see him try to sneak a fastball by Frazier on an 0-2 count, leave it right out there to have Frazier get good wood on it.
Frazier has 5 stolen bases in 7 attempts. And Beckett, a guy who's been around for so long, knows all the tricks.
And the biggest trick a right-hander can do is simply hold the ball for an extended period of time until the hitter calls timeout.
Twice he shakes off Butera there. And now the 1-2 pitch coming to Joey Votto. And Votto 0 for 2 tonight, a couple of strikeouts, 1 away in the inning.
Now that a big curveball right there. That's the one that you're trying to stay away from. We'll do this Mazza pitch-by-pitch evaluation of the at-bat. Misses downstairs and gets a fastball in the inside corner. That makes Votto aware of the heater. A little sinking fastball there. Got him out in front, and then the curveball, good arm action. Bottom drops out of it, and he gets a punch out. So one looking and one swinging for Votto. You know, to put that curveball in perspective for Josh Beckett, I mean, he throws the second most number of curveballs in the league, only behind Adam Wainwright. 341 of those, and the opponent batting average when they put that pitch in play is 117. That's why he's going to it.
Well, you mix in all of Beckett's stuff this year. The league is only hitting .213 against him.
Yeah.
And with that ERA at 2.5. A lot like Johnny Cueto has been, ERA under 2. And yet both of those guys are 500 pitchers on the year. Beckett at 3-3, Cueto 5-5. Johnny will get the start here tomorrow night. 0-2 on Brandon Phillips. He grounded out to Hanley Ramirez, leading off the Reds' second inning.
You don't see too many foul balls up there hit by a right-hander anyway. I mean, way up there in the second deck. It's called getting the head out. A lot of little leaguers and knot holders out here tonight. Another one of those kid glove games. They hung around and hoping that they would see baseball tonight.
High fly ball into short left field. And Kemp's there for the second out of the inning. So Frazier remains at first after a leadoff single. Now they're 2 out. Saw a fan down in the stands down there, Chris, walking down on a somewhat muggy but not too warm night. We're in one of those lids you and I were sporting last year. Putting it away now.
May want to save that for a little later in the summer. There you go. Now he's got a summer cap.
He's got it all going. Where are those hats, by the way? Do you still have those?
I got those. I got a nice price for those.
You got a nice price for them.
Yeah.
After you got them for free.
It's the beauty of eBay, dude.
It's a good investment.
Better than I ever thought.
Frazier running and easily stealing second base to get into scoring position for Jay Bruce. That is 6 out of 8 on the year now for Todd Frazier.
Yeah, that's a real interesting way that he takes a lead down there. I mean, he doesn't really ever take a throw from a pitcher where he's got to dive back to the bag because his leads are always so small. So he's anticipating and trying to convince the pitcher that he's not going to go, and then he takes off really quick before the guy even makes a move. I mean, it's bound to backfire occasionally on Todd Frazier, but man, he's been very successful using that strategy.
Two and one to Jay Bruce, who was fooled on a pitch up in the strike zone. Then he went around trying to hold up on his swing his first time up. 1 run, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs and 2 hits for the Reds. Frazier in scoring position. Jay Bruce trying to get the Reds on the board here in the bottom of the 4th inning against Josh Beckett. Inning over. Beckett has fanned 5. All 5 strikeouts coming in 3 of his innings.
Away sweepstakes on board the Fan Express. Enter today's keyword championship on the entry page at foxsportsohio.com to enter. Stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. I'm Jim Day back with you. And Tom and Chris, you mentioned some of the Little League teams that were here. Now, the team that was here earlier, I'm not sure if they stayed through the rain delay, but a team very familiar to Chris Welsh, the Midland Blackhawks, the 9 and under team, 40-5 record. They've won 8 of 11 tournaments this year. The only tournaments they've lost were against older players. They've qualified for future tournaments, including the Elite 32 World Series at Disney. Past players include Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin, Ron Oster, Todd Benzinger, Bill Thorne, and our very own Chris Welsh. By the way, Chris Harrell, who is the Reds employee, if you remember, needed a bone marrow transplant. His son plays on that team, so we salute them. Chris Harrell doing well, son doing well, team doing well. Congratulations.
And taking advantage of that kid glove program that the Reds are so generously supported for more than 50 years, giving back to the community in so many ways. And congratulations to that ball club and every young player out there, girls and boys alike, who are involved in that kid glove program.
Dodgers lead 1-0. Yeah, for so many of those kids, obviously, you know, they may not play on a Midland team, but they're out having fun with whether it's their little league team, their not old league team, whatever the case may be. They might be playing in no tournaments, they might be playing in 10 tournaments. But they're little guys and gals out there just having fun playing baseball or softball with all their buddies.
You're right. And they wake up today and they see that rain coming out all day long, and it's a bummer because you know the fields are going to be unplayable. But good night to come out and watch big league baseball here as the Reds, those that were patient enough, seeing a pretty good ball game.
Our team got rained out tonight. We knew it was going to rain, and you're right. I mean, all the guys were walking around bummed out around the neighborhood. It's supposed to play over in Pleasant Ridge tonight. But get right back at it in another 48 hours or so. Well, here the big boys are playing. The Dodgers have a 1-0 lead. And Justin Turner, man, does a beat go on for Turner. We talked about him being the hottest hitter in the Dodger lineup. He has 3 straight games where he has 2 hits or more. And you look over the last 15 games, this guy is a .350 batter. Has knocked in 11 runs in those 15 games. And I mean just tearing it up, especially when you put runners on base. So far this year, a .367 batter with runners in scoring position.
And he's a 7th place hitter.
One and 2 on Drew Butera, and a number better go get it, and Mesoraco does. That ball is starting to make a turn back towards fair territory.
Yeah, both these teams right now just desperate for wins. The Dodgers are trailing the San Francisco Giants by 8.5. Reds are down by 8. Of course, they're in 4th place. Both teams is kind of in the same spot, even though the Dodgers a little bit ahead as far as wins and losses overall.
Bruce coming in a few paces, and that'll be the first out here in the Dodger 5th. Well, coming up a little bit later on, as always, we'll have our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. 1 on, 1 out, top of the 5th inning, 1-0 Dodgers, and now it's Josh Beckett who struck out swinging his first time up. And look at that. Beckett handles a bat. Old Butcher Boy play, showing bunt. Takes a swing and a bouncer into left field, a base hit.
But we've not seen that play executed as well as he just did that all year long. And I love that play. I mean, the word is to a hitter that can, a pitcher that can handle the bat, is don't run into a trap. And this was a trap. Look how Frazier, I mean, he's coming around hard now. And when he puts that ball into play and bounces it right over his head, it couldn't work out any better than that. Part skill, part luck.
Now the Dodgers have 2 on, top of the order with 1 out. D. Gordon, the batter. He's bounced out to Votto, and again the Reds are pulled way in on him.
Well, the Dodgers have 5 hits, and I feel like they've only hit the ball hard 1 time, maybe twice. One of those nights, if you're Mike Leake, you got to keep grinding it out.
1-0 to D. Gordon, and he slaps it down the left field line towards the corner. This will go to the wall. Turner will score. They're going to hold Beckett up at third base on an RBI double by D. Gordon, and the Dodgers have a 2-0 lead. Second and third, only 1 out. That Beckett base hit is a huge play in this inning.
Well, another opposite field slap hit. Ethier did that to drive the first run in. Beckett did that on a high bouncer. And now we see D. Gordon drive one in that way.
So the bottom of the order starting this Dodger rally. They got a leadoff single by the number 7 hole hitter. An out later. Show bunt. Take a swing base hit from the pitcher Beckett. Now an RBI double by Gordon, and here's Hanley Ramirez 0 for 2 in the game. Infield halfway in. And they don't have to be all the way in with Beckett, the runner, at third base.
Actually, they could probably play back. He was running very gingerly going from first to third on that double.
But look how far Votto is playing off that first base line. That's got to be 20-25 feet. Oh, and 1 to Hanley Ramirez. Beckett, the runner at third. D. Gordon, a run scoring double out at second base. 1 out, a ball and a strike on Hanley Ramirez. And right by Brandon Phillips. And this will plate a couple of runs, and the Dodgers have a 4-0 lead. Well, the Reds were shifting a little bit on Ramirez. They had Phillips cheating a little closer to the second base bag. And Ramirez basically hit a routine ground ball to second.
Well, he was in a little bit, Phillips was. That's pretty good hitting right there by Ramirez. And we've seen the Dodgers hit opposite field hitting all night long. And they're getting some production from it.
Yasiel Puig struck out looking in the first inning. He had a double, a bouncing ball over a drawn-in Todd Frazier for a 2-base hit leading off the 4th. And he's behind strike 1.
Mike Lee's got to be the most stunned guy in this ballpark, because I'm sure that he felt tonight he came out there with great stuff. Throwing the ball hard. He had 5 strikeouts in the first 4 innings. Had only really given up 1 hard hit ball. And now he turns around in the 5th inning with 1 out, and he's down 4-0.
0-1 to Yasiel Puig. And it's off the inside corner. Of course, the Reds only have 2 hits through the first 4 innings against Josh Beckett.
And this lineup right here with the Dodgers, I mean, even if they're not hitting right now, and they're not, these guys have pedigree. I mean, if you make some mistakes, Yasiel Puig, what he did last year, very impressive. Adrian Gonzalez on deck. Matt Kemp. I mean, they're scary. And they're the kind of ball club that I get the feeling if they start to get the offensive ball rolling, it's a tough one to stop.
We talked about how good Turner has been, but we also brought up the fact that, you know, Uribe has been their main guy down at third base, and again, he's injured. You know, Uribe, a guy who 4 times in his career he's hit 20 or more home runs. Virtually every year he's knocking in 70 runs or more. He's a fly ball down the right field line, and that's out of play. So you start thinking about a guy with that kind of pedigree, not with some of these other all-star players, but I mean, a guy batting 7th in your order, hitting 20 bombs and knocking in 70. And then you go to their catcher, A.J. Ellis, when they get him back. This is basically a guy who's going to hit 260, 270 every year.
I'll take that.
Knock in, well, each of the last 2 years he knocked in 52 runs, hit 13 home runs, 10 home runs. I mean, you're getting 50-something batted in from your number 8 hole hitter, 70-something from your number 7 hole hitter. If these other guys do what they're supposed to do, well,
that's a big
thing. Nail right on the head.
That's the big thing, is if they do what they're supposed to do. All right, now Mike Leake's thinking that Week's supposed to hit into a double play ball.
Or look at strike 3 for the 2nd time in a game. 6 of those now for Leake. The largest deficit the Reds have overcome in a game this year is 2 runs. And now they are down by 4, but we have such a long way to go. At bats in the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th. Adrian Gonzalez, a double, scored a run, the first run in the 2nd inning, struck out swinging his last time up. Brewers have lost, Pirates have lost, Cardinals have won. All those with the regular start times tonight, a little after 7 o'clock Eastern time. Bronson Arroyo got a win earlier today. Pitched very well against Houston in a 4-1 Arizona win. All of a sudden the Diamondbacks have come to
got him,
and they pick him off to end the inning. So Ramirez falls asleep over there at first base. He does have a 2-run single in the inning, and the Dodgers lead 4-0. Chris.
How about Devin Mesoraco? The highest slugging percentage when you pull the ball, when you get the bat head through the zone and you rip it to your power side. Devin Mesoraco ahead of Mike Trout, Nelson Cruz, and Brandon Belt. I hope that he can get the bat head going here against Josh Beckett. Struck out the first time on a big looping curveball.
A fastball taken by Mesoraco for a strike. Beckett is fanned 5, not walked a batter. He's allowed 2 base hits. A single by Alik with 2 outs and a third. A leadoff single by Frazier in the 4th. Mesoraco thought that pitch was low, and it's called a strike. 2-2. Reds need base runners. They need base hits if they're going to overcome this 4-run Dodger lead. And that's a hard hit ball, but right at Turner. 1 away. When I tell you, look down there in that Reds dugout right now, and you sat around here for 2 hours, but everybody that puts on that uniform understands what this team right now is going through. They're 1 game under on this 10-game homestand. Won 2 out of 3 over the Phillies after losing 2 out of 3 to the Giants. And it's hard to look excited when you're getting shut out. But I tell you, I mean, there's a lot of long faces in that dugout. We're only in the 5th inning. Frazier's one guy's trying to talk up a teammate down there. As Schumacher is gone swinging for the 2nd out of the inning.
Well, you're right, though. When you're not hitting, it just looks like you're lackadaisical, and it's hard to show that you're trying. You know they're trying. I mean, I'm not so sure standing at the top of the dugout and cheerleading is going to get anything going. But right now, this Reds ball club, they were hoping with getting everybody back healthy, you would automatically come with a little bit of momentum from within. And that may have to build over some time. But right now, Josh Beckett's building the momentum. Fans feel it too, though. I mean, it's very quiet in this ballpark right now. Almost eerily quiet.
Two and two on Zach Kozak. Four runs, 7 hits for the Dodgers. No runs and 2 hits for the Reds. Beckett set to unload his 67th pitch of the game, and he's 2 outs into this 5th inning. He's not walked a batter all night long. He has been in complete and total command. You go back to that 2003 postseason we were talking about with Beckett and how spectacular he was. I mean, just so dominant. There are pitchers that go through a postseason. Frequently it's the power guys. As Cozart is hit, it looked like it hit him in the head. Helmet goes flying off. You saw the catcher Drew Butera's reaction right away. And even Josh Beckett comes nearly the full length between the mound to the home plate area. to look in on Zach Cozart. Paul Assard, Steve Bauman, Tomas Vera, the entire training staff, along with the manager Brian Price coming out. Zach sitting up. And now they will help Cozart to his feet.
There's Beckett right here watching, and obviously no malintent on that pitch. In fact, I just watched the replay, and his immediate reaction was one of almost horror. Put his hands to his face. That's a good sign to see him up smiling. I think he's trying to talk his way to stay in this ball game.
I think you're right.
Good for him.
And he is going to stay in the game. That's great stuff from Beckett. Trying to let Cozart know that he feels badly about it. Right in the side of the head. Thankfully, he's all right. And then Beckett, as Chris talked about, right away, hands up. So Cozart over at first, 2 away in the inning. And now Mike leaked about it.
Yep, that's on.
Each pitcher with a base hit tonight. Leake had a 2-out single with nobody on in the Reds' third. Beckett a huge base hit when everybody figured he was bunting. He showed bunt with a runner at first and 1 out in the Dodger top of this 5th inning. And pulled the bat back. Took a swing that bounced into left field over the head of the drawn-in Todd Frazier. And Beckett would score one of the 3 runs in the inning. 2-1 to Leake. And 1 to Mike Leake. Cozart the lead, held on by Gonzalez. 3-2. Well, now Beckett glances over there at Gonzalez, and Adrian letting him know he'll back up behind the runner on this 3-2 pitch. That's in the air to left field and handled by Kemp, and the inning is over. Cozart hit by a pitch. He's stranded at first base. 4-0 Dodgers at the end of 5. features on his favorite smartphone or tablet are perfect for Father's Day. For more details, visit MLB.com. I tell you, a great show. You got to check it out. It's called Reds Weekly. And tomorrow, 2 Hall of Famers talk about Cincinnati native Don Zimmer. What has been the key to Todd Frazier's success this year? And Jim Day visits with Oscar winner Don Cheadle. I'll tell you, Jim Day runs with all the big stars these days. It's all tomorrow at 6 o'clock on Reds Weekly, presented by Safe Auto. Hanley Ramirez came over, gave him a pat. Josh Beckett checking in with Zach Cozart, and then his teammates able to laugh a little bit with him. Joey Votto coming over. Read Zach's lips, something along my jaw. It's tough to follow the rest of the words there, but Adrian Gonzalez will lead things off here in the Dodgers 6th. All LA so far tonight. A 4-0 lead as they bat in the 6th inning. Gonzalez had the double to right center field. That was one of the few balls that were really tagged tonight by Dodger hitters. They have a number of hits, 7 of them, but a lot of bouncers, rollers, bouncers over the third baseman's head. Twice that's happened tonight. Once by Puig, once by Frazier. Off the bat of Josh Beckett. But Gonzalez laced his to the wall in right center. And he has gone on strikes for the 2nd time since that double.
Funny, the Reds seem to have pitched Adrian Gonzalez inside and almost exclusively inside when they were facing the Dodgers out on the West Coast. Tonight Mike Leach gets that little runaway high fastball and he's had him chasing it.
On Matt Kemp. He's had a hard time tonight with Mike Leake. The strikeout swinging, the strikeout looking. 3-1 on Matt Kemp. And there's ball 4. The first of the game given up by the Reds right-hander.
That Matt Kemp's a big guy. I mean, standing next to Joey Votto puts it in perspective because Votto's a big guy. Votto's about 6'3", I don't know, about 225 or so. Kemp looks like a linebacker next to him. Get a tight end.
Probably would have been a pretty good one. He grew up in a football crazy state, did Kemp of Oklahoma. Of course, Oklahoma's been coached by an Ohio guy for a long time, and Bobby Stoops. And one on Andre Ethier. Well, they had a really cool feature on the Dodgers' brand new television station they have out there in Los Angeles. Signed that big deal to start it, and they had a really cool feature on the home that Andre Ethier built. He was born and raised in Phoenix, and he bought a bunch of land way outside of Phoenix. I mean, out in the desert. And I guess he's quite an animal lover, and he and his wife, they have all kinds of different, between raising chickens and horses and dogs, and I mean, it's really, really cool piece and well done. Quick throw down there to first. It's not all that often you think of Phoenix as working on a farm. But he had his real little kids and teaching them as an upbringing about doing chores on the farm. Swung on and fouled out of play. 2-2.
So how was that going for him?
I don't know, but I mean, it was just cool to see the kids out there and doing all the stuff that a lot of people that are watching right now in Reds country. Of course, there's great farm country all throughout Ohio and Indiana and West Virginia, Kentucky and Tennessee. And
was he leading by example?
He was.
Oh,
he was. And how he came to know all that, I don't know. He didn't grow up on in that kind of neighborhood in Phoenix. Not to say he didn't have other family members that didn't maybe live somewhere out of ways where you had that going on. That is a foul ball. We told that one story about Andre Ethier when we were there in Los Angeles about when he made his major league debut. Ironically enough, in his hometown of Phoenix, Arizona, against the Diamondbacks, playing for the Dodgers. And how we ran into his father after the game, and his dad was telling us that he never wanted his son, who's always been a left-handed batter, to be one of those left-handed hitters that could not hit left-handed pitching. So his father, who was right-handed, taught himself as an adult in his 30s how to throw left-handed so he could pitch batting practice to his son. But Ethier, like a lot of left-handed batters, has struggled against left-handed pitching.
Of course, we followed that up with a conversation about Luke, your son, batting left-handed. I was going to ask you how your left-handed pitching lessons.
I was thinking about that this morning. I got to get to work on that. We had Luke in the batting cage today, and it didn't come from the left side from Dad.
He was ripping you pretty hard, I heard.
He had it working today. We got a little work to do.
That'll only get more and more common as he gets older.
And a bouncing ball. Phillips stays with it, and his flip is in time to get Ethier. Davey Lopes looking into the Dodger dugout saying, hold on a minute now. And he just said to Andre Ethier, just sit tight. Ethier standing on the bag. And Davey Lopes is waiting for Don Mattingly to get word from their replay assistant.
A really tough hop right there for Brandon. And he tries to stay with it and get the out with a backhand flip. I don't know whether they're going to get it. Not looking good for the Redlegs on that one. No.
And indeed, Don Mattingly has asked him to come in and take a look. So the crew chief is the home plate umpire, Jim Reynolds. And the umpire who made the call, Seth Buckminster, will join Reynolds on the headsets. Still on the field, is out at first base. Ethier is still standing over there at first base. And they're looking at it, of course, for those of you new to replay. They have an umpiring crew that is looking at this call in New York.
Brandon right now sitting at 1 error on the year. He has had an outstanding year defensively, a consistent year offensively.
Taking a long time.
Yeah. Well, you know, it is after 11 o'clock there in New York. Okay, now they look like they're going to get a decision.
And the call is safe. So the call overturned on instant replay review. And it scored a base hit. Two minutes and 4 seconds to overturn the call. So the Dodgers have Matt Kemp at second. They have Ethier on at first. And now the red hot Justin Turner. First pitch swinging, dumps it foul and out of play.
You know, I got an idea. You know, the time that you're trying to fill while the review is being made. I think, you know, just so today's fans can get the feel of what it was used to be. You know, they ought to play some highlights of Earl Weaver, Billy Martin.
Good idea.
Lou Piniella up on the scoreboard.
Good idea. I like it.
You could easily fill a few minutes with it.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Maybe we ought to have a go-to reel for the review film.
You mean here on Fox Sports Ohio?
I'd dig up some old footage. Get some stuff that we haven't seen very much of.
Yeah, you wonder if you're really ever going to see any of those kinds of arguments anymore. Now, sooner or later, something's going to happen. Somebody's out of a challenge, and you know, sooner or later, we'll see something close to it. Now, like the other day, you were looking at some video, wanting to check out that Manny Machado situation, which was a very ugly situation.
Immature.
Third baseman for the Baltimore Orioles, who, you know, they felt like he was getting hit with pitches and certainly being pitched inside in a game against the Oakland Athletics, and throws his bat. I don't know if he meant to throw it necessarily at the third baseman, but that's what it certainly looked like. He was suspended for 5 games. And so, you know, you'll give the managers from those two teams, Bob Melvin of the A's, Buck Showalter of the Baltimore Orioles. But they weren't getting after anybody as far as yelling and screaming.
Well, they both got ejected eventually, I think.
Yeah, and the pitcher.
And warnings, of course, and so on. And you know, they're both trying to make their point. And so, well, why am I getting a warning over here? Or why did my guy get ejected? He's the one that threw the bat.
You and I were talking about it before the game. I am stunned Machado didn't get a longer suspension than that. I mean, that is a weapon.
There must be some guidelines that they go by there. Kind of wish I knew more about that.
Well, flare to short right. It is going to fall in, a base hit. And this will bring in another Dodger run. And again, it is Turner. While he may not hit it hard every time, in fact, that's the second hit he's had in this series. Just a little flare in the shallow right. But both times they have fallen for hits, and both times they have knocked in runs.
Look where that pitch is. I mean, you can't make a better location if you're Mike Leake. And he just goes out there just to keep it alive. And well, that's the way it's been going for Leake and for the Dodgers tonight.
The second straight outing, Leake gives up 5 runs in a little more than 5 innings. 5 1/3 frames tonight.
Bad luck tonight.
Dodgers get him for 9 hits. He strikes out 7 and walks 1 batter. And Sam LeCure will be our Skyline Chili. Called to the bullpen. Dodgers lead now 5-0. Baseball action beginning with the Twins taking on Miguel Cabrera and the Tigers. That'll be on Fox Sports 1. And then it's baseball night in America on Fox. The Reds will take on the Milwaukee Brewers. Our MLB doubleheader begins Saturday at 4 Eastern on Fox Sports 1. It rolls right into prime time, 7 Eastern, Saturday night on Fox. That means Saturday, you and our producer Joshua Hall and our director Roy Alfers and Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro and Brian Giesenslaw, all with the night off in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
You'll be working that game.
I will be, but you
we'll
guys have a night off.
Make sure you're on top of your game.
Well, I wouldn't hold my breath there. Sam LeCure takes over on the mound. Drew Buterin at the plate. 2 on, 1 out. Dodgers with a 5-0 lead. They got 1 in the second, 3 in the fifth, 1 and still batting here in the 6th. Baby got started 2 hours late, and you hoped that the Reds would have a little more energy, a little more bounce in their step tonight. Really playing for the first time all year long with the closest thing they have had to the lineup they envisioned before this season began. Now you can make an argument it would be Schumacher, maybe Ludwig out at left field, but nonetheless, with all hands on deck from an offensive standpoint, and Latos set to rejoin the team in the rotation over the weekend. The Reds have been blanked by Josh Beckett on only 2 base hits. 2 and 1 on Buterin. Votto in his return tonight has struck out looking, struck out swinging. And of the 2 base hits, the pitcher has 1 of them. And LeCure walks in number 8 hitter. And now the bases are loaded for the pitcher, Josh Beckett.
Now Sam trying to get his act right. He had a rough outing his last time out when he pitched a third of an inning against the Phillies and was tagged for 4 runs. 3 of those were earned. Walked a batter. Didn't strike anybody out, and he's got nowhere to put Beckett.
Beckett had a big base hit, helping propel the Dodgers to a 3-run 5th inning. Puts a bat on the ball and is short right. And you don't figure they're going to ask the runner to try and tag up. 2 away in the inning. D. Gordon knocked in the first of those 3 Dodger runs in the 5th. He came up with Turner and Beckett aboard and doubled down in the left field corner and would score on a 2-run single by the man on deck, Hanley Ramirez. Bases loaded, 2 out for D. Gordon. One statistic on the Dodgers, which comes as a major surprise. Most teams, when you look at their numbers batting with the bases loaded, they are off the charts. All the pressure clearly on the pitcher on the mound. Look at that batting average. Second lowest by a National League team, going back to 1974. That is 5 hits in 38 at-bats. If you're wondering about the Reds, let's take a look just for comparison's sake, where the base is loaded. Reds are hitting .282, 11 of 39. Oh, and 2 the count on D. Gordon. Off the end of the bat, foul.
Well, Don Mattingly's got to look at that stat. And Mark McGwire, the hitting coach, the same way. That bases loaded stat, where they're so bad that they figure, well, it's just got to be a function of maybe a small sample size. I mean, can you go all year long and just not put the finishing touch on a ball game by not being able to get big hits with the bases loaded? Well, they did it again.
Dodgers get a run to chase Mike Lee and lead 5-0 after 5½.
Reds game. It's Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. First look at the lineups, features, and much more. Reds Live, the pregame edition. I'm Jim Day. Billy Hamilton set the lead off the half inning for Cincinnati. Now, Billy Hamilton, when he was in Arizona in spring training, went to a service, a religious service, and met a minister. And the two decided, of all things, to start a company. So we're talking about Billy Hamilton, the entrepreneur. It's called Speed Kills, and this is my favorite t-shirt of all, where it says, "Don't blink. Faster than the average. Speed kills." Got all kinds of t-shirts, hats, wristbands, shorts, hoodies. And now Dee Gordon is on board. The two fastest guys in the league are teaming up. Opponents tonight, but business partners off the field. Billy Hamilton, already the entrepreneur.
That's good stuff there, Jim Day. Thank you very much. Hanley Ramirez gets rid of it quickly and throws out Billy Hamilton 0 for 3 tonight. Josh Beckett is on cruise control. Only 2 hard hit balls against him all night long. A single by Leak into center field with 2 outs and a third. And on an 0-2 pitch, he tried to sneak a fastball by Todd Frazier, who lined one into center field. But I mean, outside of that, very, very quiet for the Reds against the 34-year-old right-hander Josh Beckett. Beckett has basically been a 6-inning pitcher. In fact, outside of the no-hitter, he's not going very deep into games at all. You include the no-hitter, which obviously he went 9 full innings, and you take that start out, and he's far less than a 6-inning pitcher this year.
But even in a lot of those games where he pitched only 6 innings, he threw over 100 pitches. He threw 128 in the no-no. And his losses 2 games since then. Of course, the Dodgers have not scored even 1 run for him in the next 2 ball games.
Now, his second start of the year, we mentioned he began the year on the disabled list. His second start of the year, he walked 5 batters in a game against the Giants, even though he shut out the Giants in 5 innings. But he walked 5. You take away that game, and you're talking about 10 starts and only 18 walks.
Right.
This entire year for Beckett. And none here tonight. Well, that's some kind of breaking ball.
Now, he wasn't going to make a mistake, at least another mental mistake, to Todd Frazier, and got ahead of him last time, tried to sneak a fastball by him. This time, he gets him to buckle on the curveball. 71 miles an hour, strikeout number 7. Beckett from Spring, Texas. He was all set to go to Texas A&M before he was chosen in the first round, second player taken overall in 1999. If you're wondering, and you probably like to forget if you're a Reds fan, that was the year the Reds took Ty Howington. I think they drafted 9th or 10th that season. But he was all set to go to Texas A&M, not Texas Tech. And A&M not one of those Texas teams that is going to the College World Series. University of Texas is going. Texas Tech is going. TCU is going.
Wow.
UC Irvine is going. Louisville, Vanderbilt, Virginia, and Ole Miss.
Virginia's going. I thought they got beat. They lost their first game and they came back.
Came back, yeah. They beat Stanford, and I believe they're going.
2-1 the count.
Ole Miss is going. That's Zach Cozart's old school. Actually, one of the freshman infielders on the Ole Miss Rebel team is the son of Jay Bell, Brantley Bell. Hit 300, and boy, breaking in as a college freshman, going to the World Series your first year.
Lobato draws a walk, first of the game given up by Beckett. Well, if a Red should hit a home run off that Toyota sign, Patricia Levy or Levy from Cincinnati will win a beautiful new Tundra on display here at Great American Ballpark. How do you think you'd say that? Levy or Levy? What do you think? Levy? L-E-V-Y?
Yeah.
Patricia, good luck. One on, two out. Brandon Phillips a batter. He is grounded to short and flied out to left field. Reds down 5-0 batting here in the 6th inning. And a breaking ball drops in there on the outside edge. Strike one.
One more note on Bradley Bell, the freshman at Ole Miss. Jay Bell's son. He also inspired the creation of the Arizona Diamondback mascot. Baxter the Bobcat. Back in those days, the Diamondbacks were playing at the Bank One ballpark. And he told his dad, well, it's only appropriate that they have a mascot that would incorporate Bob, and it would be Bobcat. It's right there in the Arizona Diamondbacks media guide.
Wow.
About Baxter. And
boy, he must have been a very, very little boy then.
I think about 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, I don't even think he could have been that old.
Well, that was in 2000 when they unraveled that, and I guess he's...
Oh, okay, after. I was thinking 98. That ball driven into left center field and caught by Andre Ethier. And that will end the inning. We go to the 7th. All Dodgers tonight. Sunday, June the 22nd, the Redlegs and the Blue Jays. The first 8,000 kids 14 and younger receive a kids mascot magnet. So be sure to take advantage of the Reach Magazine family deal. 381 REDS. Five runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. They have left 5 runners on base. Reds have been shut out by Josh Beckett on 2 hits, and the Reds have stranded 4. So Sam LeCure took over for Mike Leake. Walked the first batter he faced to load the bases, but he got the pitcher Beckett on a pop-up to right and struck out D. Gordon to leave him loaded. Ramirez, Puig, and Gonzalez here in the 7th inning. Certainly the Dodgers are keeping an eye on that Giants score. They're taking on the Washington Nationals out west tonight. Nationals got the Giants last night in that series. And the Dodgers in second place, 8.5 games behind. You know, during the rain delay, we were replaying that Joey Votto game-winning home run on that 3-0 pitch to beat the Rockies. And when Colorado came in here, the Rockies were 7 games over 500. That was a little more than 3 weeks ago. There's a pop-up playable in the infield. And Frazier calling off Mesoraco makes a catch, 1 out. But the Rockies, when they came in here to begin that series, were 7 games over 500. They were 1 game behind the Giants. Well, they are losing tonight at home to Atlanta. Should they lose that game, they would be 6 games under 500. And they would be 13.5 games out of first place. That's almost a free fall equal to the Tampa Bay Rays.
Might be calling the Rain Man in there too.
He might be making a lot of stops. Might have to get him that old maybe the Fan Express. Break that out for the Medicine Man. Is it the Medicine Man or the Rain Man?
By the way, he's known as a Medicine Man, but I think his nickname is the Rain Man.
Now, Jim Day seemed to know a lot about this guy. From the Seminole Reservation, which of course has a tremendous history in the Seminole state of Florida.
Well, they've got the Hard Rock Casino too.
Oh, really? Is that over by Tallahassee, or
no,
where is that?
No, that one's down south.
Oh, down like by Miami?
I think the Hard Rock is in the Tampa area.
Oh, okay. But of course, the Seminole County, if I'm not mistaken, that is Tallahassee.
Well, Seminole County is not Tallahassee, but the Seminoles are Florida State.
Okay. Where is Seminole County?
I think it's in the center of the state, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. 1 and 1 to count. Full foul on Puig. Anyway.
I know there's some fact checkers on that. My geography might not be that good. I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, but you know what? You won't show up in the paper like the Washington Post, like with, the Pinocchios, tomorrow. Because you're not telling a lie. You just try
center
to
of the state encompasses,
that's right.
maybe 15 or 20 counties.
That one shot the other way, and that's a nice piece of hitting there. Yeah, Seminole County seems to be right about maybe a little north of center, northeast of Orlando, but not all the way. More right in the middle of the state.
All right. Close enough.
Yeah. You were all over that. It's really not far from Tampa. But you're saying that's where the casino is?
No. The casino's in Tampa. That much I know.
You know that one.
Now, the Miccosukee Casino is down there in Fort Lauderdale area.
Of course, he used to go down there for spring training with the Yankees. As Puig is running, and just as he was reaching into the mid, Mesoraco could not find the hand. Stolen base for Puig. His 7th in 11 tries on the year. I'll tell you what, this Puig, and he's obviously had some issues as far as showing up late, and very early in the year in Australia took himself out of a game, and Don Mattingly had some comments about him, and they were ranting and raving, and Mattingly needed to throw the hammer down on this budding young star. But my, oh my, you talk about blessed with unbelievable talent. This is just a powerfully built young stallion. Reaching back there for that hamstring right now, looks like. Must have a cramp in there or something. So he's into playing. You heard Joey Votto in a report made by Jim Day, talked about his experience the last couple of days about going down to AAA and being around those guys and how he was going to make baseball fun again. I think when you watch Yasiel Puig play, does he do some things that might make you crazy and all that kind of thing if you're his manager? Maybe. No doubt. But you can tell when he comes to play, this guy comes to play.
Well, that was the big thing. I mean, he seemed to energize the Dodgers last year. And their run at the second half, when they brought him up, they just started playing great baseball, and they said a lot of it had to do with his just energy, his unbridled amount of enthusiasm that he played the game with. But if you start doing some things like he did this spring, you can certainly start wearing thin on your teammates and your manager. So, if you're Don Mattingly, you walk a fine line. So how do you keep him, energized, but at the same time, you keep enough of a harness on him that he doesn't embarrass the ball club or embarrass some of his teammates or get those guys angry at him. It's funny, every manager you talk to, if they've never managed before, they tell you, you end up managing people more than managing baseball.
But it really is probably because, not probably because of the guaranteed contract in baseball that makes the baseball manager's job of managing people so far different than, say, that of a head coach in the NFL. I mean, it is a whole different world. It's not to say that there aren't head football coaches that have to, nurse an ego here or maybe do something along the lines there. But it is all about results, and it's about results today. Two and two the count on Gonzalez. Swung on and fouled out of play.
Well, there aren't too many 10-year contracts or even 6- or 7-year contracts in the NFL.
And none of them are guaranteed. I mean, there are one or two quarterbacks in the league that have a guaranteed deal, and outside of that, if they decide they sign you to a 3-year deal for $25 million. If at the end of 1 year they want to cut you loose, it's see you later. You're not getting paid.
You're not.
No.
So they get most of that in up front, like a signing bonus.
Right.
Whereas in baseball, it's all guaranteed. I get the feeling Kozar just wants to sneak in behind him and pick him off. They tried once. I mean, he's getting a big secondary lead down there. I mean, he's about a third of the way down to third base when that ball's coming to the plate.
Three and two on Adrian Gonzalez. He has doubled, scored, struck out swinging twice. And that one hooked down the right field line into the corner. Puig was running on the play. I'm not so sure that something's not injured with Puig. Here's an RBI double by Gonzalez. As he came around third, he was wincing. And he is clearly going back to the dugout with a limp.
Why is he stealing third if his leg hurts?
Right there, you see that wince. And that's pretty much after he had started to break it down. And that was the one thing that Don Mattingly said that first series of the year, when Puig just knocked the cover off the ball in the first game, had all those hits, and then all of a sudden he strikes out, takes himself out of the game. And Mattingly came right out after the game, said, look, every time this guy swings and misses, I don't know if his back hurts, I don't know if his shoulder hurts, I don't know what hurts. And they're having a little fun at his expense down there in that dugout. You may remember he injured the hip over the weekend in Denver. Did not play on Sunday, but was back in the Dodger lineup here last night. 1-1 to Matt Kemp. Dodgers lead 6-0. Dodgers have 5 doubles in the game of their 11 hits. Sam trying to drop down and throw the breaking ball.
Yeah, he's like taking a page out of the Bronson Arroyo book. And we've hardly ever seen Sam LeCure drop down and throw that.
Got a swing and a miss, and that's strike 3 to Kemp. He struck out 3 times in the game tonight. We can win your way to NASCAR's Quaker State 400 in the Kentucky Speedway Getaway Sweepstakes aboard the Fan Express. Keyword today, championship. Go to foxsportsohio.com to enter. And stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. Of course, we thought that Dale Earnhardt Jr. was going to be joining us tonight. Jim Day was ready to roll with Dale Earnhardt Jr. We understand it because of the weather and all the storms, as Ethier takes one right between the numbers in the back.
Not a lot of hooting going on between either dugout. I didn't think anybody from the Dodger dugout said anything to LeCure.
On the ground to Cozart, he'll play to first, and that'll end the inning. Dodgers tack on another run. They stand and stretch. LA in front, 6-0.
as promised, and let's take you back to better days. September 22nd, 2012. Matt Latos against these very own Los Angeles Dodgers. It was a big day for Cincinnati. Big day for Latos. Chapman closed it out, and the Reds clinched their Central Division title, second in 3 years against these Dodgers. Matt Latos all set to rejoin the club, barring anything unforeseen. He will pitch Saturday in Milwaukee, and even today still a little upset that he had to go on one more outing. Guys, he was still going at it today, but you know what? He's a competitor, and if he wants to pitch, I tip my cap to someone that wants to be a competitor and wants to play the game.
Paul Mahalov's been at it for a long time. He takes over for Josh Beckett. Beckett gives him 6 shutout innings of 2-hit baseball. Now, Chris, I brought up earlier, you know, that you had a chance to visit with Matt Latos. What I did not know was you say that was a private conversation.
Kind of a private pitcher's conversation. So
that must have been very deep.
But Jim pretty much hit on a lot of what he said. He's anxious to be back, and did tell me he felt he had very good stuff last night when he pitched in Pawtucket, and was happy that he got his pitch count up, and really looking forward to being back with his ball club on Saturday. I mean, it's a long time.
Well, you're not lying. I mean, it's over 2 full months. Now, based on all your experience, Chris, as a player, as Bruce places one into left center field, that'll fall in a hit and go all the way to the wall. The Reds have their first extra base hit of the night. You know, based on all your experience as a pitcher in the big leagues, broadcaster now over 20 years, for a guy coming back, and we know Latos is an emotional guy. I mean, he's not afraid to wear his emotions on the sleeve. Loves getting excited, fired up. Would you have any advice for someone who's coming back and knowing they're going to be that excited for that first start of the year?
Well, he's experienced. You know, he's not a young kid coming out of the minor leagues with 1 year under his belt. He's been around a little bit. He knows what he's doing out there, and I think the only advice you can give him, I'm sure Brian, probably just take it easy. Make it one pitch at a time. That guy knows how to pitch, and I think that he feels like, you know, he's going to have a lot to do with this ball club winning. He wants to win every time he gets the ball out there, and the guy's a dynamic competitor.
No doubt about it. He was the undisputed ace of this Reds team a year ago. Johnny Cueto only made the 11 starts. They had other guys who had a good year. Of course, Homer threw a no-hitter. Leake had a great year. But at the end of the day, it was Matt Latos who was the man. At the end of the year, his arm started to bother him, which, of course, eventually required surgery at the end of the season, or he would have been the guy that you have to believe would have been given the ball in the one-game playoff.
No doubt.
He went 14-7 with a 3.1 ERA, a 14-game win. He's gone 28-11 in his 2 years with the Reds. And you know, he just turned 26 this winter. That is a diving play by Turner. And his throw will not be in time, but he saved a run for the time being. I tell you what, we saw him make 3 great plays in one game in L.A. How about this?
2 hard hit balls in a row, and Turner makes the diving grab, and had Mesoraco not really hustled down the line, he may have made an out at first base on this play. Just what a good effort. Reds are trying to get a little action going here against their old friend Paul Mahalovs. They've seen him an awful lot with Pittsburgh for so many years, really for about 6 years with Pittsburgh, and then of course he pitched for the Cubs and then the Atlanta Braves for a couple of years. He's been in the big leagues for 10 years now. He's won as many as 13 in a year. In fact, he's been a starter his entire career except for this season. Even this year, he's had 7 starts out of his 15 appearances.
Yeah, they've had a number of guys in that starting rotation spend time on the DL. Beckett to begin the DL to begin the year. Clayton Kershaw's been on the disabled list. They had Ryu on the disabled list, and Mahalan has been that guy they plug in there. Well, the Dodgers have action in their bullpen. Chris Perez, the one-time St. Louis Cardinal turned Cleveland Indians closer. Boy, did he fall out of favor in Cleveland. I mean, right now. Ineffectiveness, injury, comments about fans.
Wow.
Liner down to third, 1 out in the inning. Well, now Brian Price coming out to have the training staff look at Mesoraco.
Yeah, I thought when he was running down the line, Tom, that he just looked kind of funny as he got to the bag. And he stretched his legs when he went through the bag. Well, that was a play that Turner backhanded across the third baseline and came up throwing on. Now, Paul Nassard evidently has been assured that he's okay, and he'll go back to the dugout along with Brian Price. Well, we'll take another look at Mesoraco running. Did he tweak something here? Right there, you think, I don't know. Jack plays hard. This is Mississippi State versus Ole Miss right here. Paul Mahalan from Mississippi State, the alma mater of the Cowboy Jeff Bradley. Zach Kozar, the Rebel.
1-2 on Kozar. Chris Heisey stands and waits in the on-deck circle. A lot of the youngsters who are here tonight on another Kid Glove night have hung around. Most of them have made their way home, and even though no school tomorrow, might have some going on bright and early. There's a base hit that'll get the Reds on the board. They're going to wave around Jay Bruce, and Zach Kozart, after getting hit in the head his last time up, knocks in a run with a double. Good for him.
Hit the ball hard. It looked like Mahalan was just trying to backdoor that curveball with the 3 previous pitches, and that one he had to come right in there for fear of walking him, and Jay Bruce scores on that very sharply hit ball to left field.
So a meeting out there on the mound as Perez continues to crank it up in the Dodger bullpen. Heisey to bat for LeCure, who gives them an inning and 2/3, allows a run. And apparently that's going to be all for Mahalan with the announced right-handed batting Heisey coming up. So Perez comes on to replace Mahalan, and we'll take a timeout in the action. Reds on the board. They still trail 6-1. That's going on here. Now, Chris, I don't know if you've ever done karaoke in a bar or not.
Negative.
Okay, well, you know, me and some of the boys out on the far eastern part of town as Chris Perez takes over on the mound, every now and again, you know, we'll get out and do a little bit of that. If you had to pick a song, forget lip syncing, but the karaoke too. If you had to pick a song, you had to do it. What song would it be?
You know, Tom, I know my limitations.
A man's got to
I don't even sing in the shower.
His limitation. That's too bad.
It really is.
It's too bad because it is a sign of happiness. Runners at first and second base. And Perez, the one-time closer. We mentioned he fell out of favor in Cleveland, whether it was he had one great year for him, and then he started wearing out the fans for not coming to the game. Had a little issue or two off the field. Then he got hurt. And they couldn't get him out of Cleveland fast enough. Swinging a foul ball out of play. But it's another example of really this Dodger roster. You're taking a guy who was a good closer in Cleveland when healthy. And I mean, he's a mop-up guy for this team now that he's healthy again.
Former first-round pick for the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Got him out of University of Miami, Florida.
One and two on Heisey. Two and two on Heisey. Two and two the count on Chris Heisey. Ball three. Perez had save years of 23, 36, 39, 25 of them last year. Oh, boy. 3-2 pitch, and Heisey takes it for strike three.
Now, borderline on the knees tonight. He thought it was low, and looks like it catches right at the bottom of the zone there.
Hamilton 0 for 3 in the game. Hamilton 3 ground ball, 1 line out, and a couple of ground outs. He tapped out in front of the plate. Catcher Butera made a nice play to throw him out in the third. And then a routine ground ball to Hanley Ramirez in the 6th inning. Reds have scored a run, but they're down 5. And again, the largest deficit the Reds have overcome to win a game this year. 2 runs, and it happened twice in the same game. That was against the Milwaukee Brewers, the only time they have played the division leaders, and they beat them 3 out of 4 games here in Cincinnati. 1 and 2.
Looks like he's got an easier time throwing that breaking ball of his, a slider over the plate, than he does the fastball. He'll walk you if you give him a chance.
Oh yeah.
He's got 10 bases on balls this year in only 24 innings. But he is ahead of Billy Hamilton now, 1 ball and 2 strikes, and they want the fastball up.
Well, Perez lost his job last year, early in the year. He had an ERA almost 4.5. He gave up 11 home runs in 54 innings. As a closer, that's not good. And back up through the middle of the center field. That'll be a base hit for Hamilton. They hold the runner Mesoraco at third. And now all of a sudden, you are 1 crack of the bat away from being only 1 run down.
Steve Smith is over talking to Mesoraco right there because he's probably thinking, hey, with 2 outs, I may have been able to score on that. But with Mesoraco possibly tweaking something going down the first baseline there, he wanted to make sure that he didn't put him in danger by making him try to score on that and make it a 4-run game instead of a 5-run game. So the Reds have some work to do still, but at least now they've got Todd Frazier and Joey Votto due up.
And there's ball 1 away. We just talked about now Perez susceptible to the big home run ball. Swing and a miss there. It even accounted a ball and a strike. He's given up 4 of them this year in 24 innings.
J.P. Howell, the left-hander, is up in the Dodger bullpen. So if this inning goes any further, Votto will be facing a southpaw.
One and one on Todd Frazier. Well, if I'm not mistaken, Joey Votto, of his 6 home runs this year, 5 of them are against left-handed pitching. But he's a guy waiting on deck. First things first, Frazier with the bases loaded and 2 outs with a 2-1 count. 3 balls and a strike.
Good job laying off that pitch.
Well, now this is where you hear so frequently the hitters talk about 1 pitch, 1 zone. If it's air, let it rip. If not, let it go. And Frazier took a fastball. Now maybe not in the spot where he wanted it. That's the same pitch that struck out Chris Heisey. Very bottom part of the strike zone. He's got to throw a fastball here, doesn't he?
You know, he was throwing his breaking ball over the plate to Billy Hamilton. Fastball it was.
Now the play is going to be to first base, and the Reds leave him low. Andre Ethier, a double down the left field line to play Adrian Gonzalez in the second inning, a 1-0 game. And then after base hits by Turner and the pitcher Beckett, D. Gordon a double down the left field line to make it a 2-0 game. The very next batter, Hanley Ramirez. Shot one by Brandon Phillips, driving in a pair in a 3-run fifth. And Josh Beckett was lights out here tonight. 6 innings, 2 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts, and walked the batter.
Now, Josh Beckett did not get hit hard. Both the base hits the Reds got were singles hit sharply, but overall 7 strikeouts, walked 1, very similar to Leak there. But the Dodgers got the best of the league mainly because they found some holes tonight. Opposite field hitting, timely hitting. They scored 3 in the 5th inning, and that's really what chased Mike Leake. Inning in 2/3 of 1-run work by Sam LeCure, and now Sean Marshall.
And that's back up through the middle in the center field, a base hit.
That'll shake it up.
Let's take a look at our AT&T fan photo tonight. Tony, thank you very much. Two-thirds of an inning, 1 hit, 1 strikeout, no runs for Chris Perez. They're going to bat for him, sending Jamie Romack to the plate. Romack got the start, you may remember, at first base, and we told his story. All those years in the minor leagues, over 4,000 minor league at bats. And Romack takes ball 1.
A Canadian first baseman, really from not too far from where Joey Votto grew up. Probably anxious to get down to first base and talk to Votto a little bit about home.
It's been a long night of baseball for the Redlegs. That started late, 2 hours plus late, due to heavy rain in and around greater Cincinnati and especially here downtown.
I gotta say it though, the Reds called it. Earlier this afternoon, this rain was supposed to not let up until midnight, and as the day went on, the weather forecasters reevaluated, they changed it, and they said that weather system would be out of here right around 9 o'clock. They were right on the button.
Right on the button is right. They started taking off the tarp at about 5 minutes before 9. They had the national anthem at 9:03, and we were playing baseball about 10 minutes late.
Well,
a little more than that.
Which is a little bit late, but you're probably too young to remember, Tom, but the Reds used to start their games at 8:05.
Yeah. Which I am convinced, and I've never heard anybody that could present an argument to me otherwise. There was a time at 8 o'clock. There also was a long time for 7:35, thinking they were a regional franchise and all that kind of thing. I think a lot of people, when they wonder about how, the Reds last year set an all-time attendance record. And a lot of people just assumed that, like the Big Red Machine, they were drawing 3 million fans a year. They never came close to 3 million. And I have always firmly been convinced the reason they never drew that many was because they started so late. And obviously the Reds go back to the days when, games weren't on television. There's a fly ball in the right field that'll back up Jay Bruce, and he'll make the catch to retire Womack. One away in the inning.
See, I'm a little more in the corner of team performance has to do with
that's what I'm saying.
Why they don't draw 3 million.
No, you're missing my point. When they were winning World Series every year, their performance of the team was through the roof. They would have drawn 3 million had they started the games an hour earlier. I'm convinced of it, because there was no better product in baseball to go watch than those teams for a decade.
And you couldn't watch them every night on television.
That's right.
Because they weren't TV every night.
But when you're starting at 8 o'clock at night, you have no chance. Their highest attendance was 1976 when they drew 2.6 million people, and the games weren't on television. I mean, you don't see any Major League Baseball teams starting their games at 8 o'clock now.
No, you don't.
And the Atlanta Braves are the only team, to my knowledge, that have any games during the week, and they pretty much do it every Friday night, of where they start at 7:30. But that is by far the latest start time of any club in the big league.
Well, if Reds country is as geographically big as we think it is, and I mean it extends into Indiana, West Virginia, down into southern parts of Kentucky, Tennessee, even North Carolina. I mean, if you're going to go to a ball game, and you got to have work that day, maybe the reasoning was you had a chance for people to actually get there after work. And of course, the city of Cincinnati proper has grown population-wise significantly since those days. So maybe that's where those people were coming from back then. And they weren't going to they weren't going to be able to draw 3 million no matter what.
Perhaps. It'd be really interesting to find out how many people do come. And the Reds know all this information. But it'd be interesting to share a lot of it with a lot of folks, because I think they'd be interested to know, how many people really do over the course of a baseball season during the work week, not the weekends, but on regional franchises like the Reds. There's a fly ball in the left field. And that'll be the second out of the inning. Is how many people really do get in their car after work and drive on a Monday night, or get out of work early and drive on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, to drive to a ball game from more than 2 or 3 hours outside of Reds country during the week. Of course, during the school year, it's got to be negligible. April and May, and then again in September. But that'd be pretty cool to check out and see what that looks like.
Would be.
It's interesting to note, to give you an idea about how much baseball attendance has changed, and really baseball is setting, year after year, setting attendance records all over baseball. When the Reds in 1976 drew 2.6 million fans, that led the National League in attendance that year. I'm stunned by that, because I just figured the Dodgers have been up over 3 million every year since they've been in LA, seemingly.
Yeah.
One and one on Hanley Ramirez. Well, a Nissan drive of the game. Hanley Ramirez in the 5th inning. A rocket right past Brandon Phillips into right field to plate a couple of runs. That took the Dodger lead from 2-0 to 4-0. It eventually got to 6-0 before the Reds got on the board in the 7th inning, and now we're in the 8th with 1 on and 2 out. Three and 2 on Hanley Ramirez. And Marshall to pause, and now to pitch. Oh. Breaking ball just missed. Man. So the inning will continue for Yasiel Puig. A hit and a walk allowed by Marshall here in the 8th inning. Good breaking ball there for a strike.
Looked like the same one he threw to Hanley Ramirez on the 3-2 count.
Puig a couple of hits. He has struck out twice. He has a double, a single, a stolen base, and a run scored.
Guy evidently has nowhere to go.
Looked like the umpire Jim Reynolds had something to say to him as he stood there and adjusted both batting gloves and waiting to get back in the box. 1-1 to count on Yasiel Puig. And the inning is over.
Nice play by Votto.
Reds will bat in the bottom of the 8th inning. They trail 6-1. the 21st. Now, if you're one of the first 25,000 fans, you will take home a commemorative Ken Griffey Jr. bobblehead presented by Cincinnati Bell. Of course, Ken Griffey Jr. on his way to the induction this summer into the Reds Hall of Fame. That'll commemorate his 500th career home run. Well, you've known Junior a long time, Chris Welsh.
That'd be a big day. Big day. In fact, not only Junior, but 3 local products going into the Reds Hall of Fame that weekend.
Isn't that amazing?
That's awesome.
It really is.
This guy's not a local product.
No. Brian Wilson is not. Nor is Miguel Rojas. Wilson, the one-time closer, of course, for the San Francisco Giants. Now working as a primary setup man from the right side out of this Dodger bullpen. Joey Votto has struck out looking, struck out swinging. He's drawn a walk. His first game back since mid-May. Reds were 1 game under 500 without Joey Votto. They won 11. They lost 12. And a broken bat. It'll fall in a base hit for Votto. And the head of that bat, I mean, went flying with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 rows. But it's where it went. Not in the middle of a dugout. Look at that fly right over Votto's right shoulder. And look where he's looking. That's how far, right on the edge of the screen, the head of that bat wound up in the stands. I don't know if I've ever seen a bat land there on a broken bat from a left-handed hitter. And thankfully, everybody's okay. Perez gives him 2/3 of an inning. A hit and a strikeout. Got out of the bases loaded jam, getting Todd Frazier on the ground out. Tell you what, the Reds these last couple of nights, they have had so many chances to get back into the game. Last night, you may remember, they were down 6-2. They had 2 on, 1 out double play. 7th inning, 2 on, 1 out double play. 8th inning, bases loaded, nobody out, double play. And tonight, they have the bases loaded and a chance with 2 away to get a little closer. But unable to cash in.
Yeah, last night you kind of felt like there were some really serious opportunities that got away from them. But, you know, when you get bases loaded and 2 out, you know, you may or may not get a hit. It's not exactly big disappointment. I mean, you're disappointed, but it's not like, man, you should at least scored 1 there. Hey, you know, the one thing we neglected to talk about when we were talking about that 8 o'clock start time the Reds used to have? The back in the days when they used to start the games at 8 o'clock. And this was brought up to me by a guy on Twitter who goes by the handle of Mr. Redlegs. He said, and it's a great point, the games back then rarely even went 3 hours.
Yeah.
Games were 2.5 and you were done.
Yeah.
This game tonight, we're over 3 already.
That's a very good point. I thought of that same thing. Because back in those days, well, they're probably averaging 2.5. You know, that gets back to something you and I've talked about. But again, if you put it into perspective, think of if you started the game at 7 and you went 2.5. You're done at 9:30 rather than 10:30. And you and I were talking about in Arizona.
And this time of the year, it would still be light by the time you got home.
You're right.
It stays light around here to about 10 o'clock.
That's why, when, you know, in Arizona, they play those 6:40 games.
It's a good start.
And, you know, you go 2.5, you even go 3. There's a rocket one hopper. That's a nice play by Rojas to start a double play. Wow. Well, that's good play by the Dodgers shortstop.
That ball was smoked. Baseball's a funny game, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, you get hit like that, that Brandon Phillips just gets the ball right on the button and hits into a double play ball. And the guy before him breaks his bat, and the bat goes flying into the stands, or at least up against the screen. He doesn't even know where the ball goes, and it falls in for a base hit. You never know.
You never know. Jay Bruce, 1 of 3, doubled and scored the only Reds run. That came leading off the 7th inning. Dodgers in front 6-1. Batting are the Reds here in the bottom of the 8th. Even some of the West Coast games have a chance to finish up before this one does tonight. They're all in the 8th inning. Angels leading the Athletics 1-0. We talked about the words from Ernesto Frieri, the Angel reliever, saying they were going to take it to the Athletics. Well, he wasn't lying. They won the game last night, and they're up by a run in the 8th inning tonight. Yankees out in Seattle with a 3-2 lead in the 8th, and Washington in front of the Giants 2-0 in the top of the 8th. Brewers lost earlier tonight to the New York Mets 6-2. The Mets end a 6-game losing streak with that win as Bruce draws a walk. Well, we've heard so much about the young talented outfielder Gregory Polanco with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Well, he got his first major league hit in the game tonight. A single to left center field off the one-time Red Travis Wood. They're very excited about his arrival.
Yeah, we've heard about him for a long time.
So that means both the Pirates and the Cardinals, if I'm not mistaken, have brought up their big prospects, right?
Tavares, right, for the Cardinals. Gregor Polanco for the Pirates.
Mesoraco with a base hit into left field. Devin 2 hits in a row now in each of the last 2 innings, has a base hit.
Now, we gave you that graphic of slugging percentage when you pull the ball, and he was atop that list, and his slugging percentage goes up a little bit tonight with both those pulled base hits.
Brian Wilson gave up that broken bat flare to Joey Votto. We talked about how hard Brandon Phillips struck that ball, bouncing into the double play. He's walked about it, allowed a clean single to Mesoraco, and now gets ahead of Schumacher, strike 1. Wilson has come all the way back, not once but twice, from Tommy John surgery. He was among the top closers in the National League during his tenure with the Giants. And he just blows away Schumacher, and that'll end the inning. Couple of hits, couple of men left. We're off to the ninth. Dodgers lead 6-1. Matchup here at Great American Ballpark. Johnny Cueto, the ace of the Reds, so far has been the best pitcher in the National League. Left-hander Hyun-Jin Ryu will be on the mound for the Dodgers. And when he's been healthy, spent one trip, 15 days on the disabled list, but boy, he's a mighty fine left-hander.
Well, he is good. He's got a very good changeup that neutralizes a lot of right-handed hitters. But Johnny Cueto, I think the Reds will be happy that he's taking him out tomorrow night, as momentum in baseball is tomorrow's pitcher.
Well, it also has something to do as we look at J.J. Hoover with Chris. You know, something changing with this Reds offense, and Lord knows Brian Price has tried everything, almost everything. I mean, he's moved Joey Votto, he's moved Brandon Phillips, he's moved Todd Frazier, he's moved Devin Mesoraco from the bottom of the order to the middle of the order, then back down the order. Now, granted, he hasn't had very many games this year. In fact, you can make an argument tonight is about it, outside of a handful when Mesoraco came off the DL the first time. But tonight has a chance to be, if it keeps going the way it's going, and we're in the ninth inning and they have one run, it would be the 21st game this year. And tonight is the 63rd game of the year. It would be the 21st game the Reds have scored 2 runs or fewer.
I think that's a much more valid stat than the total number of runs overall. That, especially at this point in the year, that particular, when you add up all the runs together, that can be blown up by a few blowout wins that you have. But at the end of the year, that number is good. But you're right. What do you do in that average game?
And that doesn't include the number of times you score 3 runs. Bear in mind, we're not saying 3 or less. We're saying 2 or fewer runs in a game. 2, 1, or none. That's over a third of your games. Exactly a third of your games.
11 strikeouts now for Reds pitching. Well, they've had really handled Gonzalez. He's had a couple of doubles, a little double left field, and then one down the right field line. I thought that was 11. That is only 10. See, I don't do karaoke and I don't do math.
You know, it's funny because if you talk to a lot of people and you ask them the 2 things that make them the happiest in life, oftentimes you'll hear karaoke and math.
You may have something there.
Yeah. One and one on Kemp. He's trying to avoid that golden sombrero tonight. He has struck out 3 times. He has walked and scored a run. We look at so many of these youngsters that are able to stay up here late tonight. And as many of you know, there's a local pizza company here in town that if you strike out 11 batters, Reds pitchers strike out 11 batters, the ticket holder gets a free pizza. And some of these little kids, man, I mean, they are dancing around like nobody's business. They have had a long night. Little Zaw would do them good. There you go.
The guy that has helped these kids get a Zaw more than anybody else just walking back to the dugout, that would be Matt Kemp. He's contributed in a big way. 4 punch-outs, the golden sombrero. Just trying to make the world a better place.
Pizza, karaoke, and math. There's a ground ball down to third. And the inning is over. Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Chevy. Visit your tri-state Chevy dealer today. And by Cincinnati Children's Hospital, ranked #1 in the United States in pediatric cancer care, according to U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Jim Day is standing by with Reds Live to break it all down. Chris Welsh, a big part of that as well. It's brought to you by Performance Kings Honda. I think Jim Day may have already made his way up to the Fox Sports Ohio condominium. He probably won't have much company over there tonight. Jeff Pecoro standing by downstairs along the Reds dugout. Jamie Wright. Boy, here is a guy that has truly withstood the test of time.
Boy, you're not kidding.
I mean, it seems like 100 years ago, this guy was drafted in 1993 in a Colorado system. 2.5 years later, he was in the major leagues in the Colorado Rockies starting rotation. Now, bear in mind, the Colorado Rockies started playing in 1993. 3 years later, he was in their rotation. Moved from there to Milwaukee, was there for 2.5 years, a short while in St. Louis, 1 year in Kansas City, back to Colorado for 2 more, San Francisco, Texas for 2 years, including minor league stops, Kansas City again in 2009, Cleveland and Seattle in 2010. There's a ground ball to first. Seattle again. The Dodgers. Last year with Tampa Bay, pitched in 66 games, had an ERA of 3. And then back to the Dodgers again this year. I remember when Jamie Wright and his wife were getting ready to have their first child. We were taking birthing classes together, his wife and my wife. This guy is knocking on the door of 40 years old and still throwing very, very well. And the only reason I bring up the thing about 10 years ago, it looked like his career was over multiple times. Yeah. Oh, good for him. Retires the first batter in the inning, Kozar. Reds have been held to 1 run on 8 base hits. Josh Beckett in line for the win. He'd go to 4-3. Mike Leake would slip to 3-6. Bernardino, foul ball out of play. The Reds this year have scored through their first 63 games 216 runs. A little more than 3 a game. You go back over the last, 70 years in Reds history, only 2 teams through their first 63 games have scored fewer runs than this Reds team this year through the same number of games. 1971, they scored 197 runs. And in 1944, they scored 205.
So this is a historic season of underachieving offensively.
Correct.
Since 1920. Well, if you're Brian Price, there's not a whole lot you can even. What do you do about that?
I don't know.
They just hope they swing their way out of it. Maybe getting everybody healthy here, you get on a little bit of a flow. And you don't run into a Josh Beckett who had all of his pitches working like he did tonight.
And a bouncer back to the mound. Wright will take care of Bernardino. The Reds are down to their final out of the night.
19 years for Jamie Wright. I mean, it is amazing. Giving up over 1,000 runs in his major league career, but he is the active career leader in one category. I'm going to give you a chance to guess that.
Wow.
He's got more of these than any other active pitcher.
Games.
Hit by pitch. Hit batters.
Really?
How about that? Yeah, I mean, he used to drill regularly 15 to 20 a year. Led the National League twice.
How many games has he pitched in?
He's pitched, well, he's hit 152 and he's pitched in only 247.
Oh, okay.
Because he was a starter.
But the last couple of years, he's pitched, what, 65, 66, 67 a year?
Almost 2,000 innings pitched. I like the hit by pitch stat, though.
That's a lot of them. How about that? Career leader in hit by pitches. Hit batsman. And Billy Hamilton hooks one into right field. A 2-hit night for Billy. These Reds hits have come late. In fact, just about all of them have come late. They had 2 in the first 6 innings against Beckett. They have 7 now in the last 2 2/3 innings against Mahalam, Perez, Wilson, and now Wright. That'll be indifference as Hamilton takes second base. 6 runs, 12 hits for the Dodgers. 1 run, 9 hits for the Reds. Johnny Cueto and Ryu tomorrow. And then a day game, 12:35 on Thursday. This ought to do it. And Rojas on to first. And the Reds have scored 3 times in the first 2 games of this series. Last night, Dan Herron. Tonight, Josh Beckett. As the Dodgers win it by a final count of 6-1 in the first game back for Joey Votto. Although no home runs were hit in the game tonight, the home run challenge continues through Father's Day, and we invite you, if you're able, to make your pledge and go online to homerunchallenge.org. So Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro and company will be standing by to bring you Reds Live. Our final count tonight, the Dodgers 6 and the Reds 1.